This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. Well, as everyone knows, we are getting ever closer to the 2026 midterm elections. And with that, we're going to start seeing both Democrats and Republicans alike start to really pivot towards November. And well, a report came out last night from Mark Holprin and I believe Politico that top members of both the Trump campaign and the administration itself, they met last night or a couple nights ago to discuss their plans for the midterms, which good. It's a good thing that already we're talking about the midterms. More than likely, they've been talking about this for probably since Trump took office again, since January of last year, more than likely. But it seems like they're beginning to get more serious about it because, well, guess what? In a couple of weeks, we have the first primaries of the 2026 cycle with Texas and a few other states. So, yeah, it looks like the Trump campaign, they're already ready for the midterms. Last night on Capitol Hill, the senior Trump political command briefed its core team on the midterms. Some of what occurred was previously reported by Politico. Here's a more detailed account according to one of the attendees at the meeting. And this is from Mark Holprin. Usually what he says is right. He's very reliable. Sometimes the information's wrong, but the vast majority of the time, it's correct. The information is right. It's usually ahead of the curve most of the time. So yeah, when Mark Holprin's reporting this stuff, there's a good chance it's real. So the program went on for almost 2 hours, and this was a veteran group, not panicked or shaken, just focused on the work and the task at hand. There were about 75 to 100 people in the room. Many cabinet members were there, including Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, RFK, Sean Duffy, along with their most senior aides. So we're talking about some of the top people in the White House, in the administration. Now, again, Marco Rubio and I guess Vance, they weren't there. Trump, I guess, wasn't there. But it sounds like the other people, Bessent, Howard Lutnick, RFK, Sean Duffy, the other top names in the White House and the admin, they were there. Now, of course, this was hosted by Susie Wiles to the surprise of absolutely no one. This is like just basic information. Like, yeah, Susie Wiles, she hosted it. Now, I know a lot of people, including myself, we don't think she's done a good job in the White House. I don't think she has. Has it been as bad as some people are claiming? No. I would argue some people are kind of, they're being dramatic about it. They're making it seem a lot worse than it really is. But at the same time, Susie Wiles, no matter what you think of her right now, her strength has always been running campaigns. And the Trump 2024 campaign was ran pretty good. And it sounds like she's going to do the exact same thing for 2026. If that's the case, good. If she can run a good campaign, I don't care. That's what she's there for. Hopefully, she goes back to what she did in 2024 because it worked. She ran a good campaign back then. Now we get to the actual important stuff because they mentioned that Tony Fabrizio, who is Trump's main pollster and top strategist, he presented about 25 slides of data on what voters care about, like the demographics, the issues, what resonates with voters and what doesn't. And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the economy will be the issue in the election. Wow, what a surprise to nobody, except some people that were convinced that Epstein was the most important issue. Sorry to break it to you, but no. In fact, you don't even have to bank on private polling. A couple days ago, RMG Research, they finally pulled this. We've been asking all these pollsters that were claiming, oh my goodness, Epstein's is very important. It's crashing Trump's approval. Okay, ask voters the most important issue. And Epstein is not even at 3%. He's at 2%. Nobody gives a shit. That's how little people really care about Epstein. It's not Epstein. It's not this other crap. It's the economy. That's what people care about. He also mentioned that these specific messages broke through with voters. Banning stock trading for Congress, that's common sense. Basically, everybody wants it banned or heavily restricted. It's insane how there's so much insider trading, which is supposed to be illegal, by the way. But no, nobody does anything about it. People are sick of it. They're sick of the insider trading. People want it banned. Transparency on health insurance data, again, just common sense. Lowering prescription drug costs, which Trump did that, by the way. That's one of his biggest successes that nobody talks about. And the Trump tax cuts. Now, this does not mean that this is the only thing they're talking about. It just means that, hey, voters resonate more with talking about banning stock trading, with transparency on health insurance data. That stuff people want to hear. That's stuff they like. It resonates with them because they're sick of insider trading. They want to deal with the insanely high prescription drug costs. And they want to hear about the no tax on tips. Stuff like that. That's what people want to hear. Housing affordability is a huge issue for voters, especially young people. No shit. This is still one of the biggest issues that Trump has to tackle. You cannot ignore it any longer. I know you are seeing some metrics out there indicate that yes, it is getting slightly more affordable. It is slightly becoming cheaper, especially with rent. But people want to see something significant, not just a 1% decrease or whatever, or it goes down by 2% compared to wages or stuff like that. They want to see something dramatic. They want to see something actually done with this. They want to see more houses being built, just something. That's what people want to see. Real progress. Taking credit for closing the border does not resonate much. Yeah, apparently this is a real thing where, guess what? People don't give a shit about that. Now, I know that sounds kind of crazy, like, wait, what? That's one of Trump's biggest accomplishments. Well, here's the thing about closing the border. And this is, I know this sounds crazy, but guess what? Without the southern border being wide open, people kind of forget what happened under Biden. So they just think, oh, the southern border, you closed it. Hooray. People don't really think much about it now. It's like, okay, hooray, you closed the border. But in reality, if people would remember what happened under Biden, they would realize, oh, he's done a fantastic job. But no, you really can't, because the average voter, they kind of forget prior administrations, how bad it was under Biden. I know it sounds weird, but that's the reality of it. That's an issue that, funny enough, Trump closing the border on day one probably hurt him a bit more than actually help him in the long term. That sounds crazy, but it does, because you can't run on closing the border. That was a huge issue for the GOP. Now nobody gives a shit about it because the border is secured. Men, moderates, true independents, and Hispanic voters are the true persuadable voters. His message was not pessimistic. He made recommendations to spend time on podcasts and social media more than national news interviews. Paid media should go on targeted media, not broadcast or even cable. This is a big thing right here. This proves that they are learning. Like this right here is good enough, like the messaging stuff, they're realizing, yeah, housing affordability, that's important. People care more about lowering prescription drug costs. They support no tax on tips. That's good, but also this right here. This right here, in my opinion, is actually more important to realize this, because guess what? Nobody gives a shit about Fox News, let alone CNN, NBC. Nobody cares about these networks anymore. Nobody watches them. Nobody cares. But for whatever reason, the administration, they moved away from these podcasts and social media. They've gotten better lately, but it's like back in 24, Trump did that crazy podcast tour. He was on a podcast every other day. And I know he's a president now. We don't expect him to do that. But why the hell is he doing more interviews with CBS or with ABC? Why? Why are you doing these interviews with these networks that suck? And they're going to splice you out of context. They don't care. They're going to do it no matter what. And nobody even watches. Yeah, I wonder why your message is not getting out there. Facebook is still keen for voters, then Instagram and TikTok, and I agree with that. There are currently 6 targeted House races and 7 key Senate races. I think he did clarify later that he meant 36 House races, which seems about right, because there was only 6 House races. Yeah, that's not good, but it is 36. They clarified that. I'm glad he did. It's not just 6. That would have been awful. But it also is 7 key Senate races. And the only way Republicans lose the Senate is if Democrats take 50 House seats. So that's the campaign itself saying, we're going to keep the Senate and possibly expand it, barring a blue tsunami. Like we've been saying for a while, nobody actually thinks Democrats are taking the Senate. That's bullshit. The campaigns themselves, they're thinking, oh, Democrats need a blue tsunami. And right now, yes, it's looking like Democrats get a House majority. Maybe they flip a Senate seat or two, but not a Senate majority. That's the important thing. Political czar James Blair spoke and presented the historical data of how rare it is for a president's party to not lose a lot of House seats in a midterm, which again, that's just common sense. Everybody knows this. Tennessee's 7th special was going to be lost before a huge push for Election Day, from which they have taken lessons about messaging and grassroots. And we've reported on this a couple months ago, where Tennessee's 7th special, we were about to lose it. We're talking about this super duper Trump district and Republicans were about to lose. But then at the last millisecond, they actually did something. They actually got off their ass and campaigned. They spent money. They got the ground game going. And apparently, they learned from some of their mistakes, not all of them. But in terms of having a ground game and messaging, they realized that some things just don't work. And you have to focus and get your base out. It doesn't matter if you're winning slightly more independents. If your average voter's not voting, it doesn't matter. It's all about turnout. And Democrats, they're going to vote in every election, no matter what, because to them, it's game over if they lose. They lose a single random state legislative seat in God knows where. That's Trump plus 90. If they lose it, it's all over. Democracy's dead. That's how these people operate. And Republicans got to realize that these voters, they're not going to vote unless you give them a reason to vote. So hopefully they learned from Tennessee that, hey, don't wait till last second. Actually campaign on this beforehand. Don't wait till 5 days before Election Day. But it is clear that even with such a short campaign or such a short push, they actually did a very good job. If they were about to lose and in 2 days they swung it by like 15 points, that demonstrates that, yeah, Republicans, they have something here if they actually tried. If they actually did something instead of waiting and waiting and waiting and then do something. No, do it right away. Don't let Democrats get ahead. Take the lead early on and suffocate them. Politically speaking, of course. That's what Republicans have to learn. And they can do so. A quick reminder that Republicans right now have fuck you money. We've gone over this a million times now. Yes, some Democrat candidates have raised a bunch of money, but the national level, Democrats have nothing. They have no money at all. Republicans, meanwhile, yeah, casually $600 million. And oh, yeah, the richest guy alive, Elon Musk. Yeah, we have infinite money. So use it. I don't get why Republicans do this thing of, oh, we have 3 times the amount of money, if not way more now, probably 4 times, but let's not use any of it. Huh. Strange. What? Gee, I wonder why Republicans lose. But either way, it seems like the Trump campaign, they are already prepared for 2026. So it's a good start that we're talking about this right away. They're prepared. They're actually talking about stuff that's good, not some random bullshit that nobody cares about. No, it's prescription drugs. It's transparency, housing. People give a shit about these issues. And Democrats, meanwhile, apparently, they're going to run on Stop Trump. Yeah, not on anything else. They're going to focus exclusively on Orange Man Bad. Make it a referendum on Trump. And honestly, Trump wants that. That's the thing. Trump actually wants he wants to make this a referendum on himself because he knows that's the best way to get his voters out to vote. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.